Well, good evening, everybody. We're
Can we see
excited about this
Summer?
call tonight. Yeah, we'll see Summer here any moment now, I'm sure. And we're excited to have her on. Aldana and I knew her grandparents, who were two of the classiest, most elegant people in Shaklee,
She was so beautiful, and her
always.
hair was amazing.
And I can remember a handful of conversations I had with her grandfather, and he was one of the most gracious. Um, I don't know how to describe it, but he was one of those few people that as soon as you sat down with him, you were comfortable. He made you feel comfortable and was willing to share. And this was when long before we were ever master coordinators, and we're in awe of people like them. And Summer is the third generation now of that business. And Summer, would you like to jump on so we can see you here real quick, and everybody else mute yourselves so you don't keep popping
You
up?
need to move it forward.
Yeah. Can everybody see and hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
we got
Okay,
you. So,
fantastic.
Summer, you grew up in Shaklee. Tell us a little bit about what that was like for you.
Well, I will say pretty privileged considering my grandparents were master coordinators in 1972, and I wasn't even born until 1979. So, uh, from the womb, right, I benefited from the nutrition. Obviously, that was just a no-brainer. And it was like being born into just an incredible situation already set up. um I never knew any different. I grew up where I was just basically around the corner from my grandparents, on the other side of the golf course, and we would just run through the golf course every day and just jump in their pool and try not to ever get out if we could. um they had this beautiful home. A lot of people would always say, the home that Shackley built type of thing, because it really was, for a lot of people who worked hard and got to master coordinator and all that kind of stuff, that's how they felt, about the homes and the cars and the travel and all the things. It was always, thank God for this blessing that Shackley's been in our life. And it's just woven throughout your whole family. It's like, part of your DNA. So I grew up just totally benefiting from that in every way, whether I deserved it or not. I did try to make myself grandpa's favorite though. So I completely cop to that. And it was great. I traveled with them, you know, from the very beginning. Just from I think my very first conference was Shackley's Silver Jubilee in Hawaii. I was 2 years old, and they opened the door to this big hall. I don't remember this at all, so of course it's, was told to me. But they opened the big door, and Dr. Shackley had everybody stop and sing happy birthday to me. And so I mean, I think that just represents everything so well, not just the blessing that it was for me, but just also the Shackley culture that's always been there from the beginning, with Dr. Shackley. I mean, stopping to sing to a 2-year-old
Mhm,
because it's a family. It's a
mhm.
community.
Sure.
Um, and so you're never going to hear me be ungrateful about the life that Shackley provided multi generations of our family. And my fourth generation son, he's almost 8. He's absolutely as privileged as I was. Um, he's getting to do all the things and
Mhm.
travel with me just the same way. He went on the Maui trip with me at 3 years old, so just kind of repeating the same wonderful things. So I've just been very blessed with it always. And it's like a lot of us say, it's in my blood. And I just adore everything that this company has allowed my family to become.
Let me ask you this: as you went through school, and like you say, Shaklee was part of your DNA, but at what point were you intrigued by the business yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was not intrigued because I thought of it so much. First of all, I thought my grandparents would live forever, and they almost did. My grandpa almost made it to 100. He always promised me he'd make it. He sure tried, made it into his 90s. and they loved it so much that they were always going to be doing it. And it felt very much like it's okay to go off into the world and do other things. I mean, this is what my grandparents do. At that point, my mother, my aunt, I had other second generation, that were part of the business, but it just felt like they had provided so much for us to go out in the world and, figure out who we were and all of that kind of stuff. But my grandpa kind of always had it in the back of his head, like, someday I'd like this to, go to somebody. And so he'd have conversations here and there. I'd come home from college and he'd take me to lunch and we'd talk about things. And eventually he started to explain more of how the business could work in my life. I still was very like, I feel like I'd have to throw myself fully into that. And there's just these other parts of me, because I have a whole other creative life. And I thought, well, this is like a business, and I have this whole other creative life. And of course, it wasn't until, I got smart enough about what the real world is like and how wonderful the flexibility is, and, just all these things that I wouldn't have in so many other pathways you could take, that I thought, I think I can retain the things about my creative life that I love and still be able to embrace this as a business that, I can feel passionate about too. And that was a big one for me. Well, would I feel passionate about it? Would I love it? Would I enjoy doing it the way my grandparents did? And so they very smartly didn't just say, okay, you do the business now. They brought me in, so that I could be a part of it, see what it was like, and truly develop my own care and love and drive for it, because that was important to them, about their business and passing it on. So if I hadn't done that, maybe I still might not have done this, but I feel like all those things converged in the right way. And I could see absolutely the benefits as an adult, starting a family and doing all those things of what it could do for me. And I already knew what it had done in general. So I knew, the ultimate possibilities of it all. Um, so I think for me is a little bit of real world setting in.
Well, one of the things I find extraordinary is that as somebody like yourself who is third generation in this business, I can't think of another company in our industry, but maybe in any industry where that kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty extraordinary in and of itself that a business will not just survive, but thrive through three generations.
Right.
So you made that transition and obviously made a very intentional decision about growing the business. And for those of you who don't yet know this, Summer was just elected to the Masters Executive Committee by all the Masters as, I believe, chairperson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And she has been on all the Masters Advisory Board calls that all the Masters get on once a month. And I have to say that she has been one of the more insightful and strongest people that have contributed to those calls. And we're delighted that you're part of the MBC.
And grateful.
And yeah, and grateful for sure. But kind of talk a little bit about where things are now with this confluence of the product innovation we have, where the economy is, where the awareness about what we do is. Just give us your perspective on all that.
Yeah, for sure. You started this out by saying my grandma was so elegant, and she totally was. I do not try to live up to her elegance, but I definitely try to live up to my grandfather's statesmanship, I guess, if you will, because I feel like that's maybe the best that's the best thing I have to contribute. I'm very similar to him in that way. And so that's what I lean into. Um, and it's really an honor to even be on it. I mean, look at here, we're talking about just being in the company of the Seymours and so many other people that were really my grandparents' colleagues, right? And so these are people that I've respected and admired, and you better believe I'm gonna really fight on their behalf and everyone else to come. So it's really an honor in that way. But it is to be in a very interesting position. I'm 47 years old. I'm third generation. I've seen it all, right, since the beginning of my life. And it's almost this month, September, will be my 20th anniversary in my family's business. So now I can say I've really, been a part of the actual business side of it. Not quite as long as all of it, but I'm getting to that point, at least for half of it. And so I am in the sort of where all you're just talking about, all of that kind of comes together, right? I relate to so many things that are happening in the world at my age group, my generation, things that are happening with my peers, but I also have the perspective of Shaklee as a company and how it's evolved too. And I think we are at an interesting place where we're having a lot of other influences come in who don't have the history and heritage, but they have a lot of understanding of the state of things, either out in the industry or just in general in the world. And they're in similarly a time of their life that my grandparents once were when they got involved in the business. My grandmother was in her 30s, but my grandfather was starting his 40s. So, a similar time. Very different, in so many ways, right, than 1964. And yet some things are very the same. What I want for my family, right? Loving people, wanting to invest in people, wanting to help and see what comes of things for them, to be able to celebrate successes. Like there's so many things that never change. But these other influences coming in, it's a really interesting point. For me, what's really important is to bring the knowledge and the wisdom and the exuberance, if you will, from these other, influences coming in now, but have them want to ingratiate and embrace the culture, because our culture here is par to none. And I don't even have been in any of these other companies to know that, right? It's not to dismiss those other companies. It's just I know what we are. This and it is something special, like you're saying. There's not even pizza companies anymore that last long enough to be three generations, right? I mean, there just isn't. And so I think that's really important, that they come with their own skill set, but it's like, are you understanding our culture? And then how does that affect the skills and the wisdom you're bringing? So what I see out there, like you guys, is this sometimes a clash for me between what is the influencer culture, right? This like popular idea, and what I consider what we've always known in Shaklee, which is a brand community loyalty.
Mhm.
I am loyal to Shaklee as a brand, not just because my grandparents discovered Basic H in 1964. I'm loyal to because I know it works. My family's been using it for 60 something years, like literally the same product, right? Basic H just became Basic H too. I'm like, we've literally used the same product for 60 years, and we've used every iteration of every other product, right, that's ever come out.
Yeah.
And we lament the ones that are gone that we loved. And I still love that it's always bringing something relevant and new to the table of where science and innovation is in today's world. I mean, would Dr. Shaklee have loved to have thought that nutrition was at a point now that you could have these kind of metrics, right? I did a post on social media the other day because I have a frame of the histological slides of my grandmother's eyes. So that's basically like when they take like slice x-rays, right, of the eyes. And at the time, and this was done decades ago, like in the 70s, 80s, somewhere in there, and they were analyzing what vitamin E complex had done for her eyes, and a comparison of that. And I keep that because I think about how for my grandma, that was like mind blown, right? To be able to see science in action like that, to really say, hey, this is what's coming out about what vitamin E, does for, the oxidative effects on your eyes. And they can see that. And I'm like, here we are today, and now they can see what Vivix Plus can do for your VO2 max. I mean, it's the same, but just amazingly better, right? Like using what science and nature. It's still a combination of science and nature, and it's just that much more we can do with it. So I see it is an evolution. Shaklee's always been an evolution. If you come out with the first soy protein, and then we're coming out with other plant protein blends better than other things on the market. It's constantly evolving and doing that. And for me, that's just 100% a no-brainer for me. The loyalty to the brand part of it. I'm not loyal to an influencer. I have some that I think are great, interesting people. I think it aligns with my values, right? Like there's someone that I can be like, yeah, I think they're speaking the same language to me, like they care about the same things I do, and I don't need, I'll take recommendations on other, random things that I'm like, wow, that's great. That is going to be great for my family. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We are, as Shaklee people, we are influencers by nature too, because we're willing to talk to other people.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
you're an
Right.
influencer if you're willing
That's
to talk to
true.
other people. But we're a different kind of influencer because we're person to person. We're real person to real person. We're not somebody on a screen who just wants to influence you to make sure they've monetized every aspect of their life, and they really don't care what they're influencing you to do. They just want you to buy it. So that's where I think for me, some sort of like modern confusion and conflict kind of comes to be. And I really just stress within my own groups, within my own friends, within my own circle and sphere of influence that brand loyalty is still really critical, maybe even more so in today's world, where I think you can kind of just sell anything on an Instagram post and who knows.
Right.
So if you're asking me what are kind of some of the relevant issues for me, that would be some of it.
Well, and I think the philosophy of Shaklee, I don't think other companies have that kind of strong philosophy of the golden rule and really helping people from whatever organization, just like what you're doing right now.
Right, right. We definitely have. That's part of our culture. It's a totally different mentality. It's not competition. It's we help each other.
Yeah.
We want
Exactly.
Shaklee to thrive. We love when our own groups thrive. We love celebrating when other people thrive. I mean, it is hard to come by these days, for sure, in my opinion. So
Very much so.
I think it's very rare.
Now, you made reference to your generation. Um, Talk about the whole longevity conversation with where we are now with the science behind Vivix Plus and the BioAid stack and the whole thing.
yeah. So it is funny, isn't it? I mean, it when you're in your 20s, you kind of think you're Teflon, for lack of a better word, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're at the peak. You're at the peak. I mean, that's just the truth. Even if you're eating terribly and doing everything wrong, you're still at the peak. That's how nature has made it, right? So you're not always willing to see the long term, right? You're looking at short term goals more. And it's just amazing, right? You move into your 30s, you move into your 40s, everything starts shifting on you, starts changing, even if you're doing the same things. And we know that just to be true. Um, so I am now at a place where people are investing a little more time and energy. They're willing to listen a little bit better than when I was in my 20s.
Mhm.
I think in my teens, nobody cared that I took Shaklee except was the makeup better than CoverGirl? If it was, then they were maybe willing to take a look. It seemed at least more premier than that. So that kind of worked in my favor. But it's definitely changed, the conversations I had in my 20s where it was just like the basic get on a multivitamin. Are you kidding me? Like you just in this kind of world, we're not, our food is not giving us everything we need. Yeah, you got to get on a multivitamin. Like that was the main, thing for me. And you move into your 30s and you're starting to be able to talk about more. So yeah, I think now for me, finally in the 40s, I see a shift where people are starting to think further down the road and saying to themselves, I don't want to wait until I have mobility issues. I don't want to wait until I'm trying to catch up, right? And go, oh no, I got to try to reverse this stuff, which it's never too late to do any of that. That's also what's fabulous. But people are saying, I want to coast into this and I also want to look like, 50, is not what 50 used to think 50 looked like. So I am having more of those conversations with people in my age group, and I'm really glad because for me, again, I'm never going to meet what my grandma was. I mean, she was a true beauty, but I want to feel as good and look as good for myself, and I want to be happy and content, right, in my own skin, and I just want to feel really good about that. And that's, I think, a conversation that comes with a little bit of maturity, but it's starting earlier maybe than it even used to. I think that's the good news, right? The conversation is starting earlier. People are not waiting as long to say, I should do some stuff here to make sure I'm aging well.
Right. And I think the media is helping that
Oh, yeah.
because it's becoming in the forefront. And now we have this unique, incredible product that we can share.
Absolutely. It's a true blockbuster. I had to say to people, I've never been so anxious waiting on an arrival of a product as I am about this. And I mean, I put that in all caps because people who know me, they're like, you've been taking this your entire life. And I'm like, right. I've never I've never put it in caps. I'm so annoyed waiting on this product and I want to get started on it. And I wasn't in the pilot. So that just goes to show you how much being chairperson, doesn't get you any clout here. Because I would have loved to have been in the pilot, and got my hands on it too. But I'm okay with the democratic process too. It's just I really felt that, like, wow, this is big, guys. And again, just like circling back, I imagining what my grandma felt, right, with a more primitive version of that idea. Like, we have some real data and metrics and you can compare it, and all it takes is a device, to tell you what your VO2 max is here and now what it's going to be here. And I mean, that's just amazing. We could do that kind of stuff and really have this evidence. I mean, we know it in the way we feel, but I think this product, the fact that the evidence, the scientific evidence is just really brought to this incredible personal level. It's wonderful. So I'm very, very excited. And again, I don't need to live to 120. But I had my son older. My son's not even 8 yet, and I'm 47. And I am sitting here going, wait, hold on. I want to see grandchildren. I gotta stay healthy longer than other people who had their kids in their 20s. Hello. I gotta be here for all of this stuff. So I want that product to knock some years off for me too. Anyway, it's a very exciting product. That is for sure.
I was going to ask, what would you recommend someone who just comes on board as an ambassador that they do? And how much do they commit?
You mean like brand new? Totally brand new right now? Yeah. So right now, brand new coming in, honestly, to maximize what you get, not only out of the products, I mean, you're going to get results out of any Shaklee product. That's just true. Even if you just replace your soft fabric sheets, it's still better than what else is out there, and putting unnecessary chemicals in your house. You benefit no matter what. But some of the newer products, for sure, I mean, what they're doing with them, and even the Life Plus, and we know our Life Shakes are just unbelievably powerful. I mean, these are going to give you the best bang for your buck when it comes to actual nutritional and health results, for sure. But on top of that, with the business, they really are where the money is too. In the compensation plan as it stands now, making money on the dollar, that's
Huge.
that's where the gold is. That's where it is right now. So if you're coming in an ambassador, really focusing in on those products, knowing you're getting the maximum compensation out of that, with the 30 for 30, with people being able to get up to 40% on the dollar. Now, folks like me, folks like Rick and Aldana, we're still in the volume side of it, right? With other compensation plans, which we've also made a lot of money too. But with these products that are expensive because they're good products, it's the return on the dollar is really, really fantastic. And so I am like, focus in on that. And here's the thing, one thing to know about me 100%, and I'm really proud that a lot of people know this about me and would say this about me, is I'm very down to earth, and I'm going to give you the real thing, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And honestly, for me, it's good. I can stand behind it and say, yes, these are expensive products, like these new ones, right? Vivix Plus and Life. They're expensive products, but you're going to get something fantastic out of it. I don't have to put on a sales pitch. I don't have to, kind of lie or, manipulate the situation to make it seem like that's the best way to go. I'm like, you're going to get results from these things. So it's a win-win to me. It's a win-win. They're expensive, they're valuable, they deliver, and it's also the best place for you to truly start to get an income going as an ambassador and to really get your feet wet. And again, you don't have to fudge anything. You're speaking the truth to people when you're talking about those products.
I think your passion and enthusiasm for not just the products, but the business and the opportunity as a third generation speaks volumes to somebody who would be looking at this for the first time.
Yeah.
And, if somebody were to share this recording with a prospect, what would be the last thing you'd want to say to them about the Shaklee opportunity?
It's hard to put me on the spot. They didn't send me any interview questions or anything before.
That's because I know you're really good at winging it.
I am. It's also good to acknowledge your skill set, because if you acknowledge your skill set, then you also can acknowledge the things you can always work on. So that's why I think it's good. Honestly, I would say kind of what you already said. There's not a lot of things out here that you can do with integrity, also love doing, at the same time, and be putting something away that is for you. So, in other words, you may have another job in another industry that you absolutely love. And before I did this, I was a managing producer in live theater in Hollywood, and I loved it. Okay. I mean, filled my cup, right? In terms of how much I got out of my work. But it was not building anything for me outside of being in the moment of it. Mm-hmm. It was still just an income for me as I worked, which is great. We need people to be doing all kinds of things in the world. But now I can do something I love, and I'm building stuff on the side for my family that no one else gets to take away from me. I didn't just make somebody else rich while I was doing it. I made my family richer in all the ways. The lifestyle we have, obviously financially, all the things. And then on top of it, how many jobs do you know of your friends and people that do it, that they really feel like the company they work for, whatever, is really this fantastic company of integrity that, they'd speak up for? Or is it just a job? So I think having somewhere in this world where all of those things come together, it's unheard of. And it's very easy for people to dismiss it and say, oh, it's the MLM industry, and sort of rope you all into the same thing. Right. But honestly, there's other companies that come in, they don't have the integrity. They're using the business model, but they don't have the integrity, or they don't have the products that really actually do what they're doing. And they don't maybe even have the people that truly believe in it or love it. And we do have that here. Yes, and so there's other things I could be doing. I have a lot of other hobbies and a lot of other interests, and I certainly could be monetizing them. But this is the place that I feel my energy is the best spent making money for my family and for my son's future. And I know this wasn't the question, but a lot of people ask me, because my grandparents were just these amazing pioneers, what is like the main thing I learned from them about doing this business? And so I want to leave you with this too, because I live by it. I literally live by it as advice from my grandparents and as advice from these incredible people who got to this level, which is you always have to have a goal in front of you, period. If you don't have some goal in front of you in life, it's absolutely aimless and lost. It doesn't mean you it's like time lost. I mean, you can be lost sitting by a river and it's fantastic, not having a goal except to be present in the moment, right? But in our lives, if we don't have goals in front of us, simple ones, complicated ones that involve others, it doesn't matter. you're just never going to get all the things you want out of life. That's just the reality. And I am an ambitious person, and I am somebody who wants a very well-rounded life. I want to know that I've really sought out and worked hard to have all these components that I think are important and valuable in my life. And that is the same in the Shaklee business. Always have a goal in front of you. It doesn't have to be the same goal as everybody else. It doesn't have to be on the same timeline as everybody else, but you have to have a goal you're going for. And my grandpa at 92 years old, he asked me to take him to get a new passport photo. And I said, you need a new passport photo for what? You know, as a joke. And he said, I don't know. I'm thinking I might go on a cruise again next year. I said, you might go on a cruise again next year? You're 92. And he said, I always have to have a goal and something to look forward to. And hey, this is advice straight out of my grandparents. It's applied to my life. I think I'm such a direct result of that, but I also think it's how they got to the top level of success in Shaklee. When a new rank came out, it didn't matter that they had been a lifetime master coordinator for 40 years. My grandpa sat down and said, there's a new rank, presidential master coordinator, and you're going to help us get there. That's a new goal. So that's just a little extra I would add of what I really think is important in this business and when you look at the opportunity of it.
Well, I think you wrapped it up and put a bow on it for us. That was absolutely fantastic. I think this is one of the best 32 minutes we've ever spent on this call. So, Summer, thank you so much for giving your time to our group. We really appreciate you.
You guys are so welcome. I know you've got like some of the best mentors here. Don't think I haven't absorbed things from them over these years that has resulted in who I am too, not just my grandparents. I mean, I know that who the community that our family's been surrounded in are just some of the best people who want the best for other people. That's what we are. And if you're one of those two, which I bet you guys are, then you're in the right place.
Amen.
And looks like you're in a right group. So anyway, thanks for having me. I love being able to talk about my grandparents. I miss them so much. So any opportunity is just awesome. And just know that as we move forward this year as chairperson, I'm so behind all of you. Honestly, I mean, behind all of you. I want every single one of you to just hit the next goal, whatever that is for yourself. And I'm totally there fighting for it. As Rick said, I definitely speak my mind. So I'm fighting for what is going to help you. And I'm really proud to be able to do that. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Summer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for being on tonight.
Thank you for giving so much of your time.
Of course.
Thank
Have a good night.
Appreciate
Good night,
it.
everybody.
Bye-bye.